What is up? Need for Speed Racers, it is I, your wheelman, Alex Cornnut. We're here today with Billion Dollar Builds, episode 25. It's the Mustang Dark Horse, the new ride in update volume 7. This is the paid car, so you do have to buy the speed pass to get it. It's pretty good. A plus, and S. It's definitely got its place in the world. With that new handling model, it does really well. Let me show you the A plus or the A class build first. We can't drop it into B, it doesn't go down that far, but overall it's pretty decent. So let me show you what we've got here. This car is set up for the slide technique. You need to be able to drift it. Don't get me wrong, you can run a grip style and kind of just drift around a little bit to accumulate the boost, and it makes a micro drift a lot better when we've got our handling slider caked out to the right. But overall, I've only got one build for each class because when I built it for grip, I was underwhelmed and not happy. But with this, you can get around the track pretty fast. So let me show you what we've got here. The engine that we're using for the A-Class build is the stock engine, the 5.0 V8. There's two different engines you can use for A-Class that are decent. There's this one, and then there's the 4.7 liter. When I built out the 4.7 liter, I found that the top speed wasn't there, and overall it was just underperforming. Even though you can get a little more horsepower, it's a lot slower. Not worth it in A-Class. So with the 5.0 liter stock engine, we go silver everything for the most part. So it's silver induction, silver ECU, silver fuel system, and then super gold exhaust. And that's super pro. All that being said, we run it stock, naturally aspirated. There's no room to put forced induction in it if you want to get the most horsepower. We do run stock bottle of nitrous, elite platinum road suspension, stock brakes, and then elite platinum road tires. We're trying to find the middle ground between drift and grip, and this is kind of that happy medium. It still slides if you're a drift racer for sure, and if you want to run grip, you want to just kind of try to slide the slider a little bit less if you can. That being said, we run a stock clutch, and then you want to drop the transmission down to a Sport Bronze 4-speed transmission. Overall, it works pretty good, and then you definitely want to equip the Elite Platinum differential. That's the only way to really make it all fit, because you need to run that handling slider to the right. And then I run drift and grip for my auxiliaries. They work pretty damn good. Alright, handling slider, 40% drift if you're a drifter, 2 clicks high on the steering sensitivity, and then downforce all the way high. That seems to work pretty good for me. Now, you can back this off a little bit and do 10% drift. This is where I was running it as a grip racer. It still is pretty slidey. You need to account for that, but it's the best way to get around the track. And guys, I would encourage you, if you're a grip driver, to try to start to learn how to drift these cars, because it is faster once you get the technique down. I'm garbage at it, but that's where we're at. So overall, I run 10% drift. For the rest of you guys, you might run 40%. Depends on where you want to set it up at. Traction control off, drift entries, brake tap. What that sets you up with is 154 for your top speed for A-Class, which is not bad. 532 for the horsepower, 441 for the torque. It gets around the track pretty well. With the perfect start bugged right now, where we don't get that boost of speed, this car has not broken any records yet, but it will when we actually have the perfect launch. I think in A-Class, it's really quite good. I know Sly QT slays in this car and does very well in it, so shout out to that guy for being really fast. All right, let me show you what we've got for A plus. A plus, it's a short track build, so know your place when you're building these cars is what I would say. This car doesn't get up on the big end. It just doesn't have the power that it needs. But for the short track, if you know what tracks you're driving, you know you're not going to be looking for that super top speed, this thing gets around pretty well. But once again, we're leaning into kind of that slide drift status. Get the car sideways, get the boost out, do what you can. We build with the 4.7 liter V8, 200 brake horsepower when we start, and we go up quite a ways. For the parts, it's super gold induction and super gold ECU, elite platinum fuel system, iron basic exhaust, elite platinum roots supercharger. That is the overall best way to put it in the class. We run elite platinum road suspension, silver brakes, and then elite platinum road tires. The chassis is essentially the same as the A-Class version, so not many changes need to happen there. We run the stock clutch, and then once again the Sport Bronze 5-speed transmission, elite platinum diff. You're going to want that so you can play with your handling slider, and then auxiliaries, drift, and grip as always. Handling, slide the slider, you're 35 or 40% drift to make it all go. I back it off as much as I can to try to get the car not to drift too much, but that's because I suck at drifting. So as maybe I progress in that discipline, we'll get around the track a little faster. Steering sensitivity 2 clicks high. Downforce all the way high to make it all fit. That's going to be A+, 269. What that gives you is horsepower of 819 and foot-pounds of torque 842. I saw some other people that tried to do a build on this and thought that they were cooking, and they still somehow didn't know how to build it right. Anyway, regardless, this is the most optimal build that I can. It's pretty solid for A+ on the short track. There is no good long track build for A+ that I would with confidence bring you guys, because it just doesn't get around the track as fast as I would like. It just lacks the top speed, and when you're getting walked by a bunch of other cars, build the car where it belongs, and this A+ build is the short track slayer, and it does pretty well. The new handling model is really unique, and I think once you guys settle into the way the cars handle and drift, you guys will probably get around the track pretty fast in this thing. But once again, stick to the short track, stick to the twisties. You will get walked on anything where your car starts to hit the top speed of 160. Let me show you what we got for S. For S-Class, I've got two different engines to show you. You kind of pick your poison. I lean towards one versus the other because of where I can put the handling slider. But once again, you guys do whatever you think is right. The first engine that I'm going to show you is the second engine over, the 4.7 liter V8. This is the most horsepower and torque combination that I can get out of this car. For the parts, it is Silver Pro induction, Elite Platinum ECU fuel system and exhaust, Elite Platinum Roots supercharger. Chassis stays the same as the previous build, so it's Elite Platinum road suspension, stock brakes, Elite Platinum road tires, stock clutch, 5-speed transmission, Elite Platinum differential, auxiliaries, yes. Handling, you can do a couple different spots here. You can do 25% drift. That's the least amount of drift that you can get with this much horsepower, and we are going after the horsepower and the torque with this car because it still feels kind of slow, but hey, we're out here. Steering sensitivity over 2 clicks high, downforce all the way high. That's how you get it to fit in the class here. What that's going to give you for the first engine is 1056 on the horsepower, 1028 on the torque. It's a good balance. It's got plenty of power. It does okay in S-Class. It's not super meta, but it's really hard to tell right now in some cases because we don't have that perfect launch, so our lap times really don't match what they should be. I really do think it's a pretty good car. The new handling model suits it very well. Now, second engine that you guys can build on is the 5.2 liter V12. This one has got the most horsepower in the class by far and away. So you run Sport Bronze induction, Elite Platinum ECU fuel system and exhaust, Elite Platinum Root supercharger, stock NOS, chassis the same, Elite Platinum road suspensions, Silver Pro brakes, Elite Platinum road tires, stock clutch, 5-speed transmission, Elite Platinum diff, auxiliaries, yes. What that's going to do with the handling slider is you can go 25% drift, or you can back it off a little more and go to 15% if you so do choose, and you can run it to the right and go full drift if you want. That's not a problem at all. Steering sensitivity 2 clicks high, downforce all the way high. Between the two engines, it's really hard to say which one's better. If you are a drift racer, the 4.7 liter is a little better because it's got a little more torque. So you can get out of the gate a little easier and get out of the corners a little easier. For myself, because I try to drive this drift setup with a grip style, I leaned a little more into the V12 because it had more horsepower overall. Horsepower on this one is 1101, torque is 903. So we've got about 50 more horsepower, but we're trading over 100 foot-pounds of torque to kind of get there. They're really comparable side by side, and I think it's really going to come down to personal preference. We've already kind of bought the 4.7 liter, so if you're on a budget, you might just build that one out. It'll be a little cheaper for you to overall get into S-Class. But if you want to experiment with the V12, I would recommend it because they're both pretty good. And so try whatever you think is best, but those are going to be the best two builds that I can bring to you. And guys, I really did drive this car with full grip, as much as you can. Grip tires, slide the slider to the left, all that good stuff. It didn't feel any faster. By sliding the slider to the right and kind of getting into the drift scene, as far as the drift racing goes, it is a faster way around the track. I'm just not very good at it, but overall the car handles considerably better, so I'm going to recommend that with this one for sure. It just gets around the track faster, you guys. That's where we're at. All right, S+, let me show you all the engines, tell you which one's good. S+, all right, all the engines are fully built out. They've got the screw supercharger in them. Here's the deal. The last engine over is the engine that I'm going to recommend by far. The V8 hybrid's pretty solid. You end up with 1199 on the horsepower, 1214 on the torque, 234 top speed for S+. Cool. As we back down the list, that's got less of both. That's got less of both. That has 1 more horsepower, but you are trading 160 foot-pounds of torque, not worth. As we move on to the V8, and then the 4.7 liter V8, 70 less horsepower, 110 foot-pounds of torque, and then the last one, it's got 1 more horsepower, but you're trading over 100 foot-pounds of torque. So at the end of the day, horsepower and torque ratios, this one's the best, and it's got, you know, the top speed. The other ones are 1 mile an hour faster, but with Redline Tech, you're there. And so, like all S Plus builds, just build it out full premium elite platinum parts on everything. Screw superchargers, really the way to go. I put it into the grip class in S Plus. This, guys, it's S Plus. So Regera slays everything. This isn't even really on the list of being super fast, but if you wanted to build it out and try your luck, that's kind of where we're at. Put whatever tires you want. You get the highest numbers by putting the grip tires on there because you can go all the way left on the slider full Beyonce. And then 7-speed transmission or the 6-speed transmission is kind of like the deal. That makes your 0 to 60 better because you skip a shift. But overall, I would say 6 or 7. 7 because it's more numbers, more better, gold transmission, yada yada. But really, it's the same top speed in either gear. It doesn't matter. This car does not drag race. I tried to set it up for drag racing and it's just not good. So I will not give you any drag builds in this $1 billion build for this car because it's not very good. Yeah, so S Plus, 234 top speed, 1199 on the horsepower, 1214 on the torque. Last engine over, that's the one to go with. It's pretty sturdy. Guys, thank you really so much for watching. If you made it this far in the video, you're a real one and I appreciate you. Please give the video a like if you would. I'm hitting about 10%. So 1 out of 10 of you guys will actually hit that button. So be one of those ones. Be the 1%, guys. Be the 10%. I don't know what it is. It helps it out a lot. Puts it in front of other people. Helps the channel grow. You know, you guys know the game. But it really does actually help. So please do. Thank you. Outside of that, subscribe to the channel if you're not. We got more builds coming. BMW will probably be next, unless I get some spicy drag builds in there, because I've got a couple that I think I need to put out there. I've seen some other content creators be like, top 2, top 3 cars in drag racing, and none of them were the Camaro, and I was like, well, they don't know what they're doing. So anyway, get with me. If you like drag racing, subscribe. I'm going to have some more builds for you. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.